भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। So we saw yesterday what is Vedanta Shastra. That includes Upanishad, which is literally coming at the end of the Veda, and it also includes study of Bhagavad Gita, and also other texts where the authors are individual authors, but they have understood what Upanishads are saying and Bhagavad Gita is saying, and they put the whole vision in their own words. So those are called Prakarana Granthas. Okay? So this is what, when we study Vedanta Shastra in detail, this is what we study. Okay. Now in Bhagavad Gita we saw that there was a time that in Arjuna's life that somehow made him, that situation, external situation, triggered some kind of an inquiry. Okay, so generally his life went in just acquiring skills and being very good at what he was doing, and he was multi-talented, right? He was a very brilliant human being and very multifarious talents, right? And but all that somehow he felt was not really giving him what he was really searching for. What he was really searching for was the satisfaction, the fulfillment, the freedom from sense of sorrow, freedom from sense of inadequacies, and that is not what was giving him. In spite of being so brilliant in so many ways, he was not able to get that. So he asks, even though he knew Lord Krishna for a very long time, okay, at this point he says, Shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam. I am your student now. You teach me. Okay, and because Arjuna asked for it, this teaching was given. There was no pressure on Lord Krishna to say, okay, now I'll tell you what the realities are. He didn't want to bother, but it's only when you become ready for it, and in fact that kept coming from everywhere, that something higher brought you here because something makes you eligible for this knowledge. Okay, now then he started asking the question, and the whole teaching of Gita is divided in 3 categories. Okay, one, what is the reality of yourself? What is the nature of I? What is the nature of the cause of the universe? What is the nature of the universe? Okay, these are the bigger questions that, because in fact people ask us very often, these are very big questions. How does it help me to live my life better? Okay, it is interesting. Recently Surya was doing, Surya is teaching Vedanta to MBA and executive MBA program. So he obviously has to make it very relevant for people. He can't just talk about bigger pictures without addressing their needs, right? So that's for, to this question, then he asked a very simple question which I really loved. Okay, so how much, right? People ask, okay, so now what is the nature of myself? What is the nature of the universe? What is the nature of the cause of the universe? How is it going to make me, somebody who makes decision? I want to make a decision. What should I do now? Where is the connection? Okay. One thing you have to know, if I ask you a question, okay, that how much of your life or what you do depends upon, okay, how you view yourself and how you view the world. How much? In what areas of your life, it percolates what you understand of yourself and what you understand
100%.
of the world. Huh?
100%.
100%. Excellent. Excellent, right? That means 100% is something that I cannot categorically say like a very organized the professor and say, okay, now in these areas alone you will be benefited by studying Vedanta, because your whole vision and anything that you do, implicitly what is guiding whatever decision that you make is what you think about yourself and what you think about the world. Okay, and the world means every situation that comes in front of you, and that situation that comes in front of you is colored and how you view it. Like Parichat was saying, it is how I see it. Okay, and how you view it, it is very much guided by all the implicit, you don't even realize, okay, the certain assumptions, certain conclusions that you are carrying within you. Okay, so that means if that basic understanding is either partial of who you are, okay, or about the nature of the world is not very clear to you, okay, so that means what is going to be the quality of your decisions and what is going to be the quality of your intervention in this world? Partial. Okay, but if you have clarity, then what? It is totally done out of total understanding of things, right? So that means there is a lot of freedom and there is a lot of enthusiasm, there is a lot of proactiveness, and all the baggages that you generally carry, they are all kind of addressed and gotten rid of. Okay, so this is something, Vedanta is something very fundamental. Okay, because as I'm so happy Alka got the answer, there is almost 100%. You can't say that, oh yeah, what, it seems like vague, but it is so relevant. Okay. Now the second thing is very important is that now when I speak, you are all listening. Okay, and what you get out of this class is, at the end of each class, if I ask each one of you, what did you understand? Okay. Do you think all of you will say exactly the same thing and in the same order? No. So what exactly is happening here? That the text have an intention. The teacher who has hopefully understood the text has certain intended meaning that the teacher wants to convey. Okay, but when you receive it, are you receiving it exactly accurately, in keeping with what the intention is, what is the meanings that it creates for you? At times you are accurate. It's not that every time you are distorting it, right? But at times it is not totally accurate. At times it is vague, right? At times it is fraught with some error. Okay, so that means there is this whole process. What do you need to then do? Because you have only your mind to understand basically what I'm talking about or what the Shastras are talking about. Okay, so now if you have a mind, so now that means that each one's mind is somehow receiving and creating one's own picture about what this teaching is. Right? Now somebody's mind can be more in keeping with what is being taught and somebody's mind may not be. And this is not, by the way, it's nothing specific to Vedanta. You go to a physics class, right? You go to a physics class, right? Everybody is sitting, the teacher is teaching, right? Now the teacher has a certain thing that you wants to convey to you, What you understand is something which comes out when there is an exam. Right? So that means the teacher is now testing what exactly you have understood by giving you certain questions which are little bit, tricky in the sense that it requires some thinking on your part, not just reproducing. Okay? So when you give the answer, what happens? The teacher understands that, okay, now how much you have understood and how much you have not understood. Okay? So who do you call the person who is intelligent? The person who is able to capture the ideas, right, without coloring them. That is the person who is intelligent. Okay. Now, in other things like laws of physics and all, you use only one mind, which is what we call the rational mind. Okay. But here, when the inquiry is about I, it becomes very tricky. Okay, because I have so many opinions about who I am, and they are so well entrenched. Right? My whole life is lived with a certain image that I have about myself. Okay, and my whole life is also lived with certain image that I have about the world. Okay, so now when the teaching shows the myself and the world and the cause of the universe in a totally different light than what I have understood, what happens?
Foundation is shaken.
Exactly, the very foundation based on which I have believed in for so long is shaken. Okay, now what does one need to do?
Pull yourself out of the rubble.
Exactly. Right? So that means then if you're an objective person, generally what is our first defense mechanism is, if it shakes, it goes beyond my comfort zone, I want to reject it. That's the first reaction. Okay? I want to reject it because it's shaking me. It's shaking my very, very basic values that I'm carrying within me. Okay? First, the thing to do is that my present values that I'm carrying, is it really getting me what I'm looking for? No. So then what's the big deal in giving them up? What's the big deal? Right? So that means, but my commitment is to the truth. Right? I'm coming here not because I'm committed to Bhagavad Gita or you're committed to me or anything like that. Right? So many of you didn't even know me before you came to me. Okay? Your commitment is to learning something more about yourself, about the world. Okay? I am of use to you because I can show you who you are in a light that is something which is desirable by you. Okay? What is the light that, what is Gita talking about you? You being Purnaha. Purnaha means you are full. Okay? You are the whole without any limitation. Okay? So that means this is something which is very, very different from what I understand about myself. And because the inquiry is about I, can it be an abstract inquiry? No. Why? Because the subject matter is me. When somebody is showing me how I am, right? An inquiry, that knowledge is immediate. Okay? But in order for that knowledge to take place, my mind has to receive what it is saying without projecting it and without clouding it. So that means, what do? There is a whole process of teaching, okay, and process of learning. So I listen with an open mind to what the Shastra is talking about. I have my own assumptions. Okay. Now I listen and I say, which one makes more sense? Are my conclusions more valid, or what Shastra is talking about is more valid? How do I decide what is more valid? One tool that human buddhi is given. Okay, that is your intellect. Okay, so the rule is, and it's true for everything, whether it is mathematics, whether it is physics, whether it is Vedanta, the rule is, if something is the reality, then it cannot be contradicted by reasoning. So for example, when for a long time the humanity believed that time and space is absolute, okay, and everything exists within time and space. Einstein, when he discovered that the time and space framework itself is relative, he was so astonished by his own discovery, right? So he said that the ground on which I am standing itself is shaking now. That means certain assumptions that we have been living with, they are all shaken. That means he used his intellect to see something more. And that was because of years of preparation that he had. But when he discovered that, okay, does it mean that the entire scientific community totally just accepted because Einstein is saying it, therefore it is true? No.
They wanted to verify.
Exactly. So that means if he saw something and if it was the reality, what he had to do? He had to present what he understood in front of not just you and me, but the scientific community, okay, who is highly equipped to think through things. And what is the only criteria? Who's right and who's not right? If what he was saying was the reality, you cannot find any contradiction. That means you use extensive logic to say that if this is the truth, then it cannot be contradicted by reasoning. Okay? And what the other belief was, if it was not the reality, at some point it did not hold any logic. So that means what do you do then? You reject what does not hold the logic and you say this is more in keeping with reality. Okay? So that means the same process happens in Vedanta. You have assumptions about yourself, about the world, about the cause of the universe, and here is the vision that Shastra is giving you about that. What is your job to do now?
Is to see how much of it
You
is
see
relevant,
which
yes.
one stands inquiring.
Yeah.
Okay? Whether what Shastra is saying is more correct or what you are thinking is more correct.
More correct.
That is the integrity. That is that much open-mindedness and integrity you must have in any inquiry. Okay? And if what you think that at the time of the Second World War, let's say, that you are giving a refuge to some Jew person in your home, and Nazi soldier is coming and looking for that person, okay, because he'll be taken to what, concentration camp, right? Now he knocks on your door and asks you, are you giving refuge to any person who's Jewish? What will you say?
No.
Exactly. So that means you're saying, you'll say no. Are you lying? Yes, exactly. Right? You're lying. So that means you're going against universal value of lying. Okay. But would anybody say he did something wrong? No. Why?
For a greater cause.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? So that means that time there was a conflict, as very, very nicely Parijat said. There were two values.
Yeah.
One value is not lying.
Yeah.
The second value is saving the life of a person, innocent person. Okay? Now these two values are as though coming in conflict. Okay? Now how will you make the decision which value is more important? How?
Because of Dharma being
Greater good.
Larger.
Okay? The larger picture. You don't stick to the whole world is multi-dimensional in nature. You have to see the totality of situation and then make your decision. Okay? So that means any interpretation that at times, even though the values are universal, at times they require interpretation.
interpretations.
Okay. Now, what is your criteria for interpretation? Because when you say it is subject to interpretation, we human beings, we are very clever. Okay?
Yeah.
We'll always convolute things to our advantage.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that means you can say very easy. Okay? You can say that, okay, I'm a citizen of this country. Up to now, what happened is think this the whole government was highly corrupt,
Yeah.
right? So you say that, okay, if I pay taxes, anyway it's going to be eaten over by all these corrupt politicians.
Politicians.
So I don't want to pay the taxes because I don't want to support the government who's corrupt.
Yeah.
Is this dharma?
No.
No,
No.
no, no. It isn't.
Exactly. Why is it not dharma?
Because your conscience that you're born with is telling you it's wrong.
But why
You're
is
going
it wrong?
against it.
Okay, why is it wrong? Exactly. Why is it wrong? Think about it. Why is it wrong?
You're not really supporting the greater good at that point.
Exactly.
It's not going to the greater good.
No.
Is it?
1 second. Okay.
No, I'm done. I'm done.
It is going to the greater good because the law, like the taxes, are there for a reason. Just because the government at that point is corrupt, your vote could eventually change that. But the fact you just stop paying taxes, stop going to help whatever help it does help, it still is. I think the idea of the taxes are for the greater
So you're,
good.
so then it's more like seeing the value of that process, even though it's being misused
Mm.
by the
At
current.
this point in time.
Mm.
Okay. And
I pay
this.
taxes.
Yeah.
I'm just asking.
Yeah, yeah. Very good. No, this is very important. It's very important, right? And the second thing is very, very important that, let's say, okay, now here, what you have done with that money. Okay, you said, okay, you haven't paid it to the government because they are not doing the job. Okay, now if you, in fact, used, I'll ask you another question. Okay, let's say you didn't pay the full tax and you saved some money. Okay, but if you just used it for yourself, that means, have you then done it for the greater good?
No.
What is the criteria?
Self-good.
Exactly. Right? So that means you are benefiting, right? Now let me give you another scenario. If you, let's say, didn't pay all the taxes, you kept that money and you started and really started a charitable organization and really started helping people, okay, in your own area or wherever, okay, or certain cause where the money would go to people who needed that. Okay, so that means that whatever savings are there from tax, you are not using it for yourself, okay, but you are giving it out to some cause which is actually doing what the government is supposed to do. Would you be wrong?
But
In the
you
US
know, if everybody did that, if everybody says, okay, it is for a good, but then again, there's a law for you to do this, right? So if you're going to say, okay, I'll just pay part tax and I choose this, I say this and I actually do it. I may not start a charitable cause with all that money I give to a orphanage. She does the same, she does the same, everybody is doing for the cause. What is the taxes there for then? What is the law there for then? That also needs interpretation.
Yes,
But then,
exactly.
wouldn't it be? Does it necessarily have to be? This is all about individual evaluation with dharma. So if
Exactly.
just because so and so decides that not everybody's going to start an NGO. So the question, so it's not like, I don't see it. I mean, I respect what you said, but I was just saying I don't necessarily think that everybody's going to do that. So I guess my question is, if that one person does it, is it okay? I don't know.
This is
the
so true, Meera, because we generalize, right? We said if
And
everybody.
secondly, Gandhiji has a very valid point on this.
Yes.
When you undertake civil disobedience, like not paying taxes on the salt, the whole Dandi Jatra. So first you should be law-abiding citizen, and then you should tell the government why you are not going to pay the tax, and then not pay the tax.
Conscious.
Yeah, and the decision should be made known to the person who is taxing. And then if you don't pay the tax, then it is civil disobedience. Otherwise it is cheating. Either way.
Other way.
I mean,
Exactly.
that is a very valid point, Gandhiji.
So that is true. And then, see, the degree, what I want to show you is that the criteria for interpretation, right? If you, and there are levels of dharma, very important. This dharma is very dynamic, okay? So let's say now you have 2-3 people not paying taxes, right? One person is just basically cheating and
Using it for their own
not
purposes.
paying taxes or whatever. Okay, the other person is saying that oh yeah, the government is kind of corrupt and I don't want the money. It's kind of using, it's a sophisticated way,
Yeah.
it's more sophisticated, right?
Yeah.
It says, yeah, I don't want the money to go there, but it's using for one's own purpose. Okay?
Yeah.
And the third is, the person is not paying, okay, maybe paying partly and partly using it for something that
Constructive.
is
Certainly.
constructive use and not using it for oneself. Okay?
Oneself,
All three are doing something which is not to be done. You think the result which is going to accrue to all three of them is going to be identical?
No.
No. This is what we mean about dynamic dharma, right? Don't think that dharma is a stick, black and white. No. Life is highly complex. It's full of nuances. Okay? And this is why you have to use your buddhi, okay, to at every given point in time assess situations, because situations are complex. Okay? And what does Shastra do? It gives you a certain framework within which you can make proper choices. That is brilliant. It doesn't tell you, it's not simplistic. It doesn't tell you, yeah, do this and don't do that. It shows you the complexity of the whole thing and how the results are all very fine-tuned depending upon what? The nature of action, the intention of the person who is performing that action, okay, number of variables that are involved, how those variables are getting impacted by your choices. Okay, so that means that is what we call the nature of laws. It's complex. It takes into consideration everything and produces exactly what you need at any given point in time. This is dharma. Okay. Otherwise, we are taught to think about dharma in such a black and white, one-dimensional way, we miss the whole point. Okay. Now, let's come back. If I ask you, okay, so non-violence is a dharma. Let's move to a little bit more complex situations, right? Non-violence is a dharma which is, ahimsa is considered to be the highest dharma in our scriptures, right? Now, if it is an absolute, if I ask you this question, that when this Hitler was doing what he was doing, this is a recent example, okay? Now, and he was putting all these the Jews in the chamber and torturing them and all that. Now, we as a citizen, we should only follow the value of ahimsa and we should not do anything against Hitler. Does it sound reasonable to you?
Not to me.
Exactly. Why?
Why doesn't? Because I think even my conscience tells me that this is not right.
So that means there is a greater good.
Good, yeah.
Okay? You're not only concerned about your little thing of, whether I should not hurt or whatever. There is a greater picture. You are living in a world which has a greater value. Okay? In the sense that now by keeping this person and not doing anything to that person and following my dharma of non-violence to him, I'm allowing what? Violence to take place for so many people. Okay? So that means now what is my duty?
I have to fight that injustice.
Exactly. Okay? Am I going against the universal value of ahimsa?
No.
No. Okay? This is something which is very important, and you can always argue, yeah, but it exploded into a Second World War and so many people were affected. But does that become the criteria? No. Same thing with reference to Bhagavad Gita. People have not understood the complexity of dharma that this book is talking about. Okay? Everybody says, yeah, but Arjuna was right. And it seems like he was right. Because he was highly evolved person. He was not a dumb person or anything. His analysis was very, very sophisticated. Why he did not want to fight? Because, first of all, he had some emotional attachment to the people who were there, but that was not the only reason. People keep on talking about, they keep on highlighting the fact that because they were his brothers and teachers and grandfather, that's why he didn't want to fight. He gives several reasons in the first chapter. What was the second reason he says? He says that
The devastation
that he will cause. So many soldiers who have come to fight, he'll have to kill in order to win. That was the second reason. What is the third reason he gave?
Women will become widows and
Exactly,
children will become
right? So the
orphans.
whole societal structure will be kind of affected if this war took place. Okay? And what is the fourth thing he said? The unseen result of this action that he has done. Because he has made that decision, right? So the enormity of that unseen result. Okay? Now that seems like a very sound analysis. Okay? But is that the correct analysis?
No.
Okay? So where Lord Krishna says is that obviously ahimsa is a value, but it is just like Hitler. Okay? That Duryodhana is a wrong place, the wrong person in a power. You keep a wrong person in power, how many people are affected? The absolute power is given to a wrong person. You see in this country or in any country, okay, wrong person comes into power who has no value. He only wants to kind of,
Enrich
increase
himself.
wealth, exactly, or whatever. What is the consequence?
Suffering of
Suffering for
millions.
everyone. Okay. Now, that means that, but can each and every individual, if one person begins to fight that person, what is the might of that person to that person who is in power?
Not much.
Not much, right? But if you are somebody who has that position, okay, who can fight, who can match the skills, right, to fight that person, that means in this grand scheme of things, that becomes what? Your swadharma.
Yeah.
It's a totally different way of looking at things. Because in addition to samanya dharma, which is the ethical universal value, there is a second dharma, which is what we call swadharma. That means every individual is coming to this earth with one's own unique talents, one's own unique skills, okay, and that means then, and one's own sphere of influence, okay, that means that you have to operate in this world, not just, trying to grab as much as possible, but becoming a contributor who does things at the right place, at the right time, for the right cause. Everybody's swadharma is different. What is your skill is not my skill. What you can do, I cannot do. What I can do, he cannot do. That means there is something called swadharma, and in that particular case, okay, what was Arjuna? Arjuna was born in a Kshatriya family. He had all the skills to fight Duryodhana, which nobody else could have. He was wronged by Duryodhana all the time through his life. Okay? But more than that, if he said, if you just make it into a personal revenge, then this war will be just like, anybody fighting for one's own protection. But if you think about this same war, okay, you change your intention. Okay? Your intention is, it is what? Greater good. That a wrong person in power, unconfronted, leads to lot of suffering for so many people. Then it becomes your duty to then fight. You can't just let it be in the name of ahimsa. Okay? So that means the criteria is not your own personal gain. Okay? That may happen, but it is a secondary. It is your intention which is the most important. The laws capture your intention. Don't think that you can justify to the whole world, but the laws, when they give you the result for your actions, they look at the intentions. They look at people alone.
Yeah.
To what they think. You're not here to, they don't accept you as a teacher.
No,
right?
no.
So therefore, and what is your need to convince them also? Right? You can engage if they are open. It's not that you leave it, right? You see if they are used, they are open to seeing at least what you are saying. Okay? So if they show some interest, then you can make them see step by step, as we have shown, as I have shown right now. Okay? But if they don't show, and if they just want to stick to their idea, then you just have to, as you say, what you do is right. You leave
No, I
them
would
alone.
never say that.
Yeah.
No,
I would
no,
say,
no. What
you
she's
have
saying is
your
what
opinion is good. Acceptable.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's just that you live with somebody who, I mean, very
I don't say
forceful,
they're right.
very forceful personality, and it's fine, not open. They're not open.
They're
They're
not
not
open.
open. So I say, okay, whatever you feel. I don't say you are right or I'm right.
Yeah, that's right.
You just let it be.
Let it be,
Let
yeah,
it be.
let
You
it be.
do, try not to react to
Yeah,
that
that's
Exactly.
situation. I
Because,
think.
unless you want to change, nobody can change you.
Yeah,
Lord Krishna could not change Duryodhana.
yeah.
Right? So that is not, your whole teaching is not about changing the whole world. There is no such thing of changing. Everybody is going to, just as she
themselves
says,
first.
that just because you give it to charity, there is no rule that everybody else will do the same. Okay? Each one is designed differently. So this postulation of everybody will be like this, or everybody should understand, or everybody, let world be what it is. Okay? The laws are running the laws are governing the universe. You need not carry the whole burden with you. Okay? But within your own sphere,
That's enough.
play a
work.
proactive role. Okay? That is enough. If you change 5 people in your life, the number of, for generations, if you multiply and how many people you will change, you will actually, it's amazing how
It's
fast
exponential,
it
yeah.
multiplies.
To change yourself first.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
But even like applying what you said about laws and how they conspire to give you what you need, like that person is also living in the same law. So like whatever
Yeah.
they're doing is gonna come into their life too,
Yeah,
in
exactly.
some way.
See, they don't recognize that,
It doesn't
right?
matter. It's
Doesn't
still
matter,
going on,
exactly.
actually.
Yeah,
That's
of
the
course.
power.
That's. I mean, if it's someone close to you, you can see it happening, so it matters.
Yeah,
You
then
cannot
it's-
say it doesn't matter.
No,
It
not
does
doesn't
matter,
matter.
but
Like
you just have to pray for them.
Yeah, you can only pray for them.
Yeah,
That is the only thing you can do.
yeah,
Right? Because that's only within your, even with reference to Meera, what you're saying, that at times you listen to Bhagavad Gita, you listen to Vedanta, it makes such a perfect sense. But when you go out, you again continue to act out of your habit.
yeah.
Okay, you don't totally transform yourself based on all these wonderful understandings that you have. So that means even your ability to transform yourself is limited.
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah.
That you have to recognize, right?
So that's-
Then what to talk of somebody else,
Mm.
right? The only way to influence a person is if that person is interested. If that person is not interested, it's just waste of time. Okay. So then still you can be proactive, and what you can do is you can pray for that person because it matters. Because that person's well-being matters for
Yeah.
you. So then you pray. That's all. Rather than trying to convince the person, you
True.
just pray. Okay. So this is what we call about the third criteria that our Shastra talks about with reference to what needs to be done and what is to be done and what is not to be done. Okay, 3, Samanya Dharma, Swadharma, and the fact of you being interconnected with everything. Okay. Now let's go to 17th chapter. So that becomes now before when you engage in the jagat, okay, when you engage in this world, there is a basic way in which all of us engage in this world. Okay, this is what Bhagavad Gita talks about extensively. It's talking about what we call raga and dvesha. Okay? Raga is by definition what I like, and dvesha is what I dislike. Okay? So the whole way that I engage in this world is that if I like something, what do? I go for it. Okay? And when I dislike something, what do?
Avoid it.
Avoid it. Right? So this is how everybody is. Now, what I like, there are two things again. I try to get what I like, so that is what we call yoga. Okay? But not only I try to get what I like, but I like to what? I keep it.
Possess it.
Keep it with me. So that is what we call kshema. So there is yoga and kshema with reference to my raga. Okay? And what I dislike, what happens? I try
Avoid
to
it.
what? Avoid it.
Yeah.
Or if I have it, I'm stuck with what I dislike, then what? Get rid of it. Right? So this is how we engage in the world with raga and dvesha. Okay? Now within that raga and dvesha, can we then say that everybody is then all the same?
No.
No. Because what you like shows who you are as a person. Your like can be just what? Accumulating the wealth of people, but your like can also be what? Helping others. Right? So raga dvesha by themselves is nothing wrong with it. Right? What you like defines how evolved you are as a person. We are not asking you to get rid of your raga dvesha.
No.
We are asking you to become more discerning and more refined in your choices. Okay, and this is where I was talking yesterday that dharma. In dharma comes all these things of being a contributor, becoming. Parijat was asking this question: where does it all fall? So it all falls within evolving as a person, so that your likes are more refined in nature. Okay, so that this is what makes you happy. Ultimately, Upanishads make this statement, which is a very nice statement. Okay, we think that being spiritual is being selfless. It says no. It says Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Okay, for one's own self, everything else is liked by you. Okay, it is ultimately in your self-interest. Self-interest means
Please
what,
repeat
what
that.
Yeah, I
pleases
didn't
you.
understand that.
Okay.
Atmanastu kamaya.
Kamaya
Sarvam.
sarvam priyam bhavati.
Sarvam.
Sarvam priyam bhavati means everything becomes priya for you. For what? Atmanaha tu kamaya. That means what pleases. It is for yourself that you like something. Okay? What is interesting is, okay, what, for example, you are engaging in the world with the most just, instinct basis. Yeah? Just food, progeny, just basic things. Okay? So what is it for? You self satisfaction, right? Your definition of what satisfies you.
Yeah.
Okay? Now let's say you are engaging in the world to help others. Okay? Automatic pilot.
Yeah.
Yes, you are right. But still, somehow there is some connection. You think that will please me, right? That automatic pilot is something which you feel will please you, right? And the food that you eat pleases you, whatever, these relationships that you have, that please you for a while, right? Now, when you become a contributor and when you influence lives of many people, people think it is selfless. What Upanishads say, they're not selfless.
You get
It is for
satisfaction.
yourself,
Yeah.
exactly.
You get
It
satisfaction.
is for yourself,
Mm.
right? So that means that you are also doing it for your pleasing.
Right.
The other person is also doing it for their pleasing, but you two are very different individuals. What makes you different individuals is the quality of what pleases you.
Yeah.
My pleasure can be just my accumulation, or my pleasure can be helping others. That shows the evolution that how evolved a person I am. What pleases me? Okay. Love, compassion, it's all, don't think it is for others, it is for yourself. But that is an expression of an evolved person. Because by helping others, what happens? I find myself as a pleased person. What pleases me is somebody else's happiness. Beautiful. What pleases me is showing my love and making that person feel nurtured. Beautiful. Okay? But don't think it is selfless.
Selfless, yeah.
It is for your own self.
So,
You're helping yourself.
yeah, yeah.
Okay? But
In the
that
process.
with the process or what makes you a pleased person has undergone a major change, a major shift.
So what if you do something with that intention, and then you find that that journey is very difficult?
Yeah.
Then it's actually not fun, hard, struggly, and then but you keep going. What's that called?
So
Swa.
See, the thing is that, in fact, one thing we have to understand, that everybody's life is either easy or difficult. Everybody's life is, if you look at one thing, okay, the life of Lord Krishna, let's call him Lord Krishna, okay, was it easy? He was born in a jail, okay. He was born, from the time of his birth, he was taken away from his real parents. And he grew up with his foster parents. Okay. Then, his uncle wanted to kill him. I mean, dramatic. Right? Then all his life, what happened? All kinds of people who hated him and they wanted to kill him. How many Rakshasas and what, they all... So that means, and then, very difficult life. If you look at just the events. Okay? But was he feeling the burden of these difficult situations? How is he portrayed in our scriptures?
Having fun.
Having fun.
Fun, yeah.
With his
Playful
flute,
guy.
enjoying, right? Flute. He's not straight and very this and all. He's like little bending.
Playful.
Right? Bending means he's just in harmony with this whole thing. He's keeping everything balanced. He's free. What makes him free is not the absence of difficult situations. What makes him free
It's
is
his attitude.
his attitude towards things. Okay? So how can your attitude change towards things? When you understand things better. Right? So this is the whole thing. When I re-look at myself, the nature of the universe in a different light, it is highly free. With that freedom, I can engage in the world. The world will not always bring the so-called favorable situations.
Yeah.
For nobody it does.
Yeah.
Okay? For Rama it was difficult. What a life. 14 years you are going to jail, you are going to forest, right? When you actually were going to be the king the next day.
Yeah.
Okay? then you are living in forest, then your wife is abducted by some other person. Then you go and you fight and you bring her back, and then somehow some situation makes, she has to leave again. What a life. It's not easy life.
No.
Okay? So that means it is not the situations which make life difficult or not difficult.
It's your attitude.
It's your attitude. Okay? So that means if you can grow to be a person who can manage all the situations, you are bigger than any situation. But if the situations manage you, of how you feel about yourself, then that means the situation is managing you. You are not managing the situation. Okay? So this whole teaching is to make you equipped to be a person who's like Krishna. We are not here to just say how great he was. It is making each one of us into Krishna. He tells Arjuna, between you and me there is no difference. And he shows how. That is the whole teaching. Okay? Anybody who can gain that wisdom can find oneself free from all the weighing down, okay, that feeling, that these burdens that we carry within ourselves. Once we put that down, then we are not afraid of any situation. It's okay, it will come, but I'm bigger than any situations. Then I'm free, without wanting to manipulate every situation in my favor as I want it. That way, nobody can influence the world exactly as you want the things to happen. Can anybody make it exactly as you want to happen? Every factor, every individual to behave in a way that you want, the politicians to behave the way you want, the corporates to do what you want them to do, the individuals to, you have the whole beautiful picture in mind. Try to get that accomplished. What is your capacity?
Just put in your best effort.
Okay? You only do what can be done. The first thing is you fix yourself, right? And then secondly, with that person who is then not burdened, you will be source of inspiration for many. Okay, so therefore this it is true, life is difficult, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything, right? So that also then gives you that thing to go ahead. That's fine. That's wonderful.
It does.
Okay? And that's what it's something, what is interesting is that our teacher used to sometimes say, let's say you go for a movie, okay? And let's say there is a movie in which the two